You've probably heard this one before, right? The idea that space travel is, well, impossible. That a rocket can't actually move in the vacuum of space because there's just nothing for it to push against. It's a really persistent myth, and today we're going to tear it apart.
So let's just get right to it. Is it actually impossible to move in space without air to push against? I mean, this isn't some new idea. It's been fueling conspiracy theories for the better part of a century now. You see it online all the time, people claiming the entire space race was just one big hoax.
Well, the short answer to that is no. Just a simple, definitive no.
And here's the kicker. Not only is it possible, it's actually way easier to move in a vacuum than it is here on Earth, like a lot easier. Think about it. In space, you don't have air resistance. You don't have friction. There is literally nothing slowing you down. So once you start moving, you just keep on going.
Okay, so to really get our heads around how this works, we need to jump in a time machine and go back about 300 years to the guy who figured this whole thing out, Sir Isaac Newton.
It all boils down to his famous third law of motion. You know the one. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It's a basic rule of the universe. I mean, if you push on a wall, the wall is actually pushing back on you with the exact same force. It's happening all the time, everywhere.
A really great way to feel this in action is to think about firearm recoil. When a gun is fired, right, there's a powerful explosion that shoves the bullet forward. That's the action. But at the same exact time, that explosion pushes the gun backward into your shoulder. That's the reaction. A rocket? It's basically the same exact idea, just on a much, much bigger scale.
And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. The rocket isn't pushing against the air. It doesn't need to. It pushes against its own exhaust. So let's break it down. You've got fuel and oxidizer mixing in the combustion chamber. Whoosh, they ignite. This creates this insane explosion of super hot, high-pressure gas. That gas gets blasted out the back of the nozzle at incredible speed. We're talking thousands of meters per second. That's the action. And what's the reaction? Well, it's the force that pushes the rocket in the opposite direction, forward.
So if the science is this straightforward, and I mean, we've known this for centuries, you have to wonder, where did this whole "you need air to push against" idea even come from in the first place? Well, it's a really old idea.
Believe it or not, we have to go all the way back, like 2,400 years back, to the Greek philosopher Aristotle. See, he had this theory that for anything to move, something had to be constantly pushing it. His classic example was an arrow. He imagined that as the arrow flew, the air had to swirl around and rush in behind it to keep pushing it forward. But here's the thing, and this is super important. It was just a thought experiment. He wasn't doing experiments. He was just thinking through the problem. He had zero physical proof.
But even though he was wrong, Aristotle's ideas were unbelievably influential. I mean, for more than 1,000 years, his physics wasn't just a theory. It was treated as absolute dogma, the unquestionable truth. It was baked into the thinking of the Western world and even upheld by powerful authorities like the Catholic Church.
Of course, that kind of dogma can't last forever. A new way of thinking started to bubble up. A whole new wave of thinkers came along who decided to challenge these ancient ideas. Not with more philosophical debates, but with actual, real-world observation and experiments. So you had people like Galileo who started, poking holes in Aristotle's theories. But it was really Isaac Newton who came along and delivered the knockout punch. He laid out the definitive mathematical proof for how forces in motion actually work. And then, fast forward a few centuries, and every single rocket we launch into space is just more and more physical proof that, yep, Newton had it right all along.
Which brings us right back to the modern day. And the big question is, why? Why is this 2,400-year-old idea, one that's been completely debunked for centuries, still kicking around and so popular on the internet?
Well, according to the sources we're digging into, this whole idea isn't just some random myth floating around. It's actually a foundational piece, a cornerstone, for a much bigger worldview that's all about denying science. It's like a domino effect. If they can convince you that movement in a vacuum is impossible, then it's a short leap to believing space travel is a hoax. And if that's a hoax, well, maybe the Earth is flat, maybe space isn't real, and so on.
And this is where the source suggests the real danger lies. It's not always about people being genuinely confused. It suggests that a lot of this stuff is spread intentionally, either to push a certain rigid ideology or, let's be honest, for financial gain. There are charlatans out there who literally profit from creating confusion and sowing distrust in the very foundations of science.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty sobering thought.
If a law of physics this basic, this provable, can be so successfully denied, what else can be? If you can get people to doubt Newton's third law, what can't you get them to doubt? It's just a powerful reminder to always think critically about what you see and what you're told.